All right, folks, welcome back to BEG Wrestling. We are here with Claw Wrestling CEO Tom Houck back once again. Folks, Claw Wrestling, the professional paid wrestling league, coming out next year here, 2025. However, we did just have a premiere match. It was Jordan Oliver, Bryce Andonian, held at the Duel on the Diamond, Campbell University. Tom Houck, pretty incredible match, incredible results. It was Oliver pulling out a victory. But Tom, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming back. And I just want to first kind of ask you about the Duel on the Diamond and that premiere match we had.
Yeah, thanks again, Zach, for having me. Yeah, it was a great match. The final score in total points ended up being 7-7. But, you know, in Claw, you got to win the most number of rounds. And Jordan Oliver won 2 rounds to 1. And but it was super tight because the 2 rounds that Jordan won, the first one was round number 1. And he got a push out like literally at the buzzer, like with 1/10 of a second left to win round 1.
Oliver able to get to the body in the final seconds. The officials discuss, and it will be 1 point, and that is huge. And because of that, Oliver wins the round 3-2.
And then at the end of the match, he won. He got a reversal with like 3 seconds left in the match.
Looking for an escape to tie it, or a reversal to go ahead. Down to 10 seconds. Whoever wins this round will win the match. Down to 6 seconds. And Oliver gets the takedown with 3 seconds left. He will win the round 3-2. And he will win the match.
And just cool as can be, iced at his veins. But those are the rounds he won right at the buzzer. And that gave him the victory.
That's right. So he won 2 rounds to 1. They tied at 1 round, but the score was actually 7-7. And yeah, to your point, Oliver won both of those rounds in the final seconds of each round. So it was a very exciting match. It was on UFC FiGHT PASS. It was supposed to be out on the Diamond, the baseball field, but I guess it was the humidity. Or talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, we're kind of surprised. They started wrestling. You know, the sun started to set. And I heard, Dom Zacconi, you know, on your show talking about he thought maybe it was the humidity. But as the sun started to set, the mat started to get slick. And I think they did 3 matches. Shane Sparks was announcing, and he announced our previous event. So originally I was going to be sort of at the table with him. But Shane had that covered. So I went up to the press box so that we could sort of narrate for the people in the crowd so that they knew what was going on. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they'd probably be lost. So I was already up in the press box, you know, waiting for our match to begin. And all of a sudden they announced, we're done out here. We're moving inside. And we're like, oh, man, because we had to set up our scoreboard. And sometimes when we set up and stuff, you know, it doesn't load up or something. And we're like, oh, we got to do this again. Everything was working. And then you know what? Actually, UFC FiGHT PASS isn't going to be able to broadcast this, which was kind of a disaster for us because we're paying the athletes and we wanted people to see it.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, as it turned out, they were able to get 1 camera in there, and Shane went in and just sat in a chair and was able to announce. So we didn't have graphics, and there was a delay. And so I think a lot of people didn't see it live, or maybe even at all that would have. So that's a little disappointing, but it was still a great event. CFFC did a great job. We're glad you can watch it on UFC FiGHT PASS now.
Okay.
The college wrestling package that they have is only $2.99 a month, and you get all these meets that they're doing all season. I think there's 8 or 10 left. So it's a great deal for college wrestling fans. And if you get that, you can watch the Oliver Andonian match too. Ended up being at the end of the dual meet, once they moved inside.
Okay, so that was at the end. I did want to clarify because I went to search it. I had trouble finding it on UFC FiGHT PASS this morning. I was part of that live viewing experience where they canceled. I was very disappointed in that moment. But so we can find it at the UFC FiGHT PASS. You said it's at the very end because I was anticipating it was in the middle of the. Okay, so if you watch the full Campbell, Nebraska duel.
And then once they moved in, because Nebraska had a duel that night after the Campbell duel with UNC. And so they're like, with the delay, they got really set up really quick in the gym. It was remarkable. But, it was still running behind. So they said, let's get this dual meet done, and we'll do the claw match at the end.
Okay. So what about, what are some of your takeaways from this match? It was Andonian and Oliver. It was 7-7. That honestly, I'm a little surprised there wasn't more points scored. But what were some of the takeaways, maybe some of the pylons that experienced?
There was a lot of action and a couple, I don't want to say controversial calls, but, in wrestling, there's always judgment calls made by officials. But there was definitely action. And, great defense by both guys at times. So there was action, but not points. But there were still 14 points scored in 5 minutes. And probably my biggest takeaway was that regarding pylons, that length matters. Like Bryce is definitely longer than Jordan. And there's a big difference. And there's one sequence, we put it on our social media page, where Jordan is on bottom, sees the pylon, and it looks like kind of an easy pylon point for him. And he lunges for it. But Bryce's arms are so long that Bryce is still able to get the point on top. And so, definitely long arms, long legs kind of gives you an advantage with the pylons, which makes it's obvious when you say that, but we never really noticed it until we had sort of a height difference between those two guys. So if you are sort of shorter or stockier, you got to take that into account. You might want to make an extra effort to stay away from pylons, or just be very strategic and, because, maybe you're riding the guy and you can position yourself so that you can kick it or something and, he can't get to it. But it does add another little element of strategy with the pylons. And it might give a little bit of advantage to somebody who's longer and leaner, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. And I saw some of those highlights on social media that reached by Andonian. But as a result of this match, are there going to be any changes in the future with maybe some of these rules?
No, we some very minor rule tweaks, not even worth mentioning. But that was the first time we did it where the top person could get a pylon point. And Bryce Andonian got 2, I think, from the top position. And we weren't sure how that would go, but we liked that. It was just one match, and we're going to continue to test rules, leading up to the season. But so far, so good on that. We seem to like that either person can get the pylon point. And you'll remember when we did our event in June, the top wrestlers seemed to be at a little bit of a disadvantage because the bottom person could get a pylon or an escape and a quick score bonus and be up 2 or 3-0, very quickly in a round. And the top person, lost a lot of those rounds. But now that the top person can get a pylon, it sort of evens things out, and it's 10-second quick score bonus. The rules, man, we've done over 100 matches, as you know, and tested them with D1 or senior level wrestlers. And, we're feeling really good about the rules, but we are going to do some more events, maybe another match like that this year, like intermission at a college duel. We're trying to set that up. And then in the spring, we'll do some stuff. And then by then, I think, we've done a lot of testing on the rules before the season starts.
Yeah. No, Tom, I know we talked a lot about, the research that you guys have put into all these rules and everything kind of leading up to this. You're also touring. I know you've been touring schools to kind of promote claw wrestling. You talked a little bit about the future. Can we expect to see you maybe touring schools at all in the future?
Yes, I think so. Now that wrestling season's here, we're not bothering the teams during the season. But once the season's over, we want to get out to a few more schools. Excuse me. And then also, in the winter, our goal is really to spread awareness of the upcoming draft to fans, which the draft looks like it will probably be in July next year. Then the season will be in October, November timeframe. So we want to, at youth tournaments and other wrestling tournaments, get the word out to fans, make sure they know about the draft. And then as soon as the season's over, really start focusing on the athletes again. There's a few schools, big schools left where we haven't made personal contact yet. We want to make sure that those schools know about claw, that the athletes know about claw, and that there's time. And then we'll do another, hopefully high-profile event of some nature in the spring to raise awareness. The Andonian and Oliver match got a lot of attention, because two great and exciting wrestlers. And then be ready for the draft in July. So it's exciting, but still a lot of work to do to spread the word. The word's definitely getting out, but there's still a lot of people that don't know about it yet.
Yeah, no, I think Oliver Andonian, two big names, man, that kind of brings it to the forefront.
Yeah, less than a year away. This Saturday, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, is when Super Duel 1, our championship duel meet, is scheduled to take place in Pittsburgh. It's just almost literally a year away from the big event, and then the season, obviously, and the draft before that. So it's coming up.
We're counting down. Tom, I know, let's go back to like the GMs, because I know that we talked prior about you having GMs for each of these teams. Any names in the hat for potential GMs of some of these teams?
There are names in the hat. Nothing has been officially signed, the contracts, but we've had great discussions. And so I think I can say, I don't want to say somebody and, they say, hey, why did you say that? I didn't agree yet. But,
sure.
We had for our event, Kate Henschel and Billy Baldwin were the GMs for those two teams. So we hope that, there'll be GMs in the league. At this point, I just can say there's some big names that people know that we're talking to. And I'm not trying to be coy, but I don't want to announce it until I have their permission to announce it. All the details are ironed out. But definitely big names, huge social media followings, people that are, how much can I tell you without giving their name? Big in the MMA world, big in the wrestling world. And then there's like there's 6 teams. So there's one or two more GMs slots that we're looking to fill, and we're hoping to do that in the next couple months.
Okay. I'm looking forward to hearing those names, Tom. Now, you did mention you're looking to put maybe some special events together here in the near future before this upcoming inaugural season. What are some of the challenges that you're facing, obstacles in getting some of these events scheduled? I know, obviously, we're in the middle of the season. I would imagine that's the biggest one. But any issues maybe finding venues to host any of these events?
Not for these events. Probably the only challenge is timing. Like if you have big names and they're trying to make the world team, so we got to know the dates of the U.S. Open and the Challenge tournament and Final X. And then if somebody gets through that and makes Final X, will they not want to wrestle in our event? Because Final X is in June, U.S. Open in April. I think there's a challenge tournament of some nature, maybe in early May. So we'd probably do something in May, like in between, before Final X. But then if the person makes Final X, then they might not be able to wrestle. So it's just trying to finding the right dates is always a challenge, when it's a good time and nothing else major is going on. But I don't think we'll have any problems with that. We've been talking about doing like a 3-on-3 duel or a 6-on-6 duel of some pretty high profile people, and experimenting with a new idea, which is there's a weight limit for the team. So individual wrestlers weigh whatever they want, but let's say it's 1,000 pounds for a team of 6. So on average, you got about 6 guys weighing around, 167. But some guys could be heavier, some guys could be later. At the weigh-ins, they all get on and they got to weigh less than 1,000 pounds. And then there's sort of some strategy on who you wrestle. We've figured out the details of how this would work. But, you might send somebody out against, like somebody who's really good might wrestle somebody significantly heavier because they think they can take them, and that allows you the opportunity to win a different match or something. So that's kind of crazy, and we're not positive we're going to do that yet. You got to make sure that the athletes are, safety is considered and stuff. Maybe there's some limits on how heavy somebody could wrestle. How much heavier a person. And ultimately that's, if we're going to grow wrestling, we got to try different things. Like I made a post yesterday about, we might have a challenge brick in our meets that a fan is able to throw out. And that's kind of crazy, and haven't figured out exactly how that will work. But that's the nature of innovation and creativity, is challenging things and trying new things. And they don't always work. But sometimes they do work. I mean, with the pylons, at the beginning, people are like, what are you talking about? And, still, I'd say I'm kind of making up a number, but, 9 out of 10 people like the pylons. And there's always somebody who doesn't. But in general, even hardcore, like Jordan, I mean, we have lots of different rules, but Jordan posted after the match, he said, this might be my favorite form of wrestling now. And, that's an experienced, accomplished, super elite wrestler. And so, if guys of that caliber like it and like the pylons and like the rules, that's a great sign for us.
Yeah, no, certainly is. And, it reminds me, you kind of treat it more of, it's wrestling, but it's also a show at the same time. And like the theatrics, and I know the production at the Claw Invitational, I thought it was incredible. I know you did just mention the venue, I believe, that the season is going to be held at here in this upcoming October, November 2025. As far as let me ask you about the production, the theatrics. Anything on that end that we can expect to see? I know it was a production at the Invitational. It was an event. It was visually appealing. As far as that end, anything more or less that we could expect to see?
So in all respects, everything that involves fans, that fans see, we want to challenge assumptions. So way back earlier in my career, I actually taught seminars on innovation and creative thinking to accountants and auditors of all people. So creative auditors is sort of an oxymoron.
I was going to say, that sounds like a hard job.
But I did extensive research on innovation and, how people can become more innovative. And, without going into all that, one of the things that you got to do is people assume things all the time. They just assume things have to be a certain way. And you have to sort of identify every single step in the process, from when the fan, let's say at a live event, from when they, buy their tickets to arrive in the parking lot, they enter the building, everything that happens, every interaction that they have, rethink, how can we make that better? How can we make that more interesting? And so yes, on the production side, like I've been saying lately, I feel like maybe I'm in the minority, but especially like at NCAA finals, and you see it all the time now, wrestler introductions to me have become so boring. They come out of a little tunnel. There might be a really cool video board, maybe some lights going. You got the obligatory smoke machines up, and they walk out, and it's the same every time. And you got it like at some events, they do this 15, 20, 25 times. And it just slows down everything. And it's like interesting at first, but then by the 7th, 8th, 9th match, it's like, it's lost its pizzazz. It's lost its excitement. And it's just wasting time. It's not interesting. So like in terms of challenging assumptions, we're like, how can we make wrestler introductions more engaging for the crowd? How can we raise the bar? We got to do something different. We got to do something fresh and creative that, delights the crowd, surprises the crowd, whatever. And so, that's a brainstorming process. I'm a huge believer in brainstorming. You got to brainstorm before you judge and criticize and knock down ideas. And so, one of my favorite creativity tools it's very simple. It's called an idea quota. And in this case, we'll say, Zach, you write down 25 ways that wrestlers could come out differently that would be interesting for the crowd. I'll write down 25 ways. Eric Brugel, the co-founder, he'll write down 25 ways. And all of a sudden we've got like, and with an idea quota, and sorry if I'm going off topic here.
I love it.
Usually the first couple ideas are kind of obvious things and not that creative. But then when you get to 15, 20, 25, 45, if I told you to write down 50, it's like you're out of ideas. I'm like, and you start coming up with crazy stuff. Like that's when you really start getting out of the box thinking. And sometimes those ideas are crazy, but you can piggyback off them. But it might be idea number 37 that ends up being, that's a great idea. And you wrote it down, Zach, kind of half in jest, but we piggybacked off it and came with this great way to introduce wrestlers to the crowd. So I've been looking at rock concerts and other ways that people are introduced to crowds, and not just wrestling, because wrestling, it's the same every time. They come out of the tunnel and some smoke goes up on each side, and so how does if you watch, my son's really into Michael Jackson right now. We're watching all these old Michael Jackson concerts. You think Michael Jackson just comes out walking through with some smoke? I mean, he's popping up out of this thing. Nobody even knew he was going to be there. So that's fun. And I don't know what we'll come up with, but we'll have 6 teams, and we think their introduction should be somehow, related to their brand and their team. So how leopards come out might be different than how Matt Kings come out, which is different than how cicadas come out, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry for that long answer on.
No, Tom, I love it. And I mean, clearly you're an innovator. You're an outside of the box thinker. I love that little, I don't know, what is it, like a therapy or a coaching lesson that you just talked about? I think I'm going to implement that in the BEG, come up, everyone write your 25 ideas. And hey, you guys are innovating. I love it. I love that way of thinking and how innovative you guys are being. We also talked in the past about the opportunity for gambling for this, and then also like the fantasy as well. I don't know if you guys have connected with WrestleStat at all, but they're kind of doing some weekend tournaments if you guys are able to. But everything's still on track for we'll be able to do some type of fantasy league, and then I know you mentioned maybe not year 1, but year 2 possible gambling as well.
Yeah, definitely fantasy. And yes, I've made initial contact with WrestleStat. And so definitely, and we'll have fantasy for kids and a fantasy for adults. And then, yes, the betting is still sort of up in the air for year 1, because we are going to probably do, we're still in the process of raising money. And if we raise all the money that we'd like to raise, there's more that we can do in year 1. We're committed to whatever we do. It has to be high quality. It can't look like a second-rate show. But with more money, we can spend more money on marketing and invest more in different things like betting. There's an upfront cost for the betting. And so if we can raise the money, the other problem with year 1 is there's not a lot of data, for the odds makers. Mm-hmm. So it's another maybe to do year 1. If we have it, we might just do it for the Super Duel Championship. But my guess is betting would probably come in year 2, but it's not off the table in year 1 yet. It's still a possibility. We still have time to do it if we can raise the money and the odds makers are comfortable, that they can get enough data. But definitely we'll have fantasy.
Yeah, no, and I misspoke. It's Wrestle Madness. We've here at BEG, we've teamed up with the Wrestle Madness where we did like the Houck duel, where everyone can enter, and there's a prize for first. So, and I'll tell you this, Tom, that made the whole viewing experience different for me personally. Yeah. I'm a fantasy and betting guy, so that was I really look forward to that. But Tom, you mentioned what's that? I'm sorry.
Contact with them too. So yes, there's we're gonna have something good, I think.
Yeah, Tom, you kind of went into. I just want to ask you. I assume you're a reader, right? What book are you reading right now?
Well, this has nothing to do with wrestling. Is it okay if it's not a wrestling?
Oh, good, even better. No, you got me thinking with your critical thinking methods over there.
I try to read a lot on history, but this one was, my wife and I were just up in New York a couple of weeks ago and went to a Broadway play, Tammy Faye. And it's about Tammy Faye Baker and Jim Baker, and I didn't really know much about it. So when we got back, I just read a book on PTL and Jim and Tammy Baker. So nothing to do with wrestling, but that's what I just finished reading.
All right, now I'm starting to ask everyone. Sarah Hildebrand gave me a good book. It was like Life, Water, Grow. I don't know, but I'm going to be doing a live rock climbing stream. Me against gold medalist Sarah Hildebrand. She told me if I read that book, I'd have a chance to beat her. So I'm asking everyone what they're reading right now, trying to get smarter. But Tom, listen, I also just want, hey, if you guys find a gym, I know production might be not at the level that it was at the Invitational, but BEG, man, we'll come and commentate that. But Tom, anything? I know you're looking for avenues in the future. Let's go back. Where can everyone go? It's clawwrestling.com, right?
WrestleClaw.com.
WrestleClaw.com. If you're a wrestler, you want to participate, or if you're a donor, right? Is that where they would go if they would like to donate to this professional wrestling league?
Yes, if in that case, you would do the contact us tab. And so we've come out with a sponsorship package that is not published yet, but we have it internally and share it with potential sponsors. Lots of ways to sponsor on the stream broadcast or at the live events and different price points. So we're hoping that the community and the business community, will help support it in that way. And then sometime in the next couple months, we'll be announcing our Founders Club. And that will be the first people who want to sort of become founding chartered members of CLAW, who could say they were there at the beginning. And for a contribution, they'll get access to CLAW Total Access, which will have all our matches and a lot of other premium content. And they'll get different reward levels for that, different price points. It's one of the things we want to give different price points on everything, so if somebody can just support a little bit, they can. And if they're able to, they can put more money in. So all that stuff will be announced in the next couple months. And for wrestlers, we're getting more and more inquiries from wrestlers saying, how do we wrestle? And so eventually we'll have, in addition to the pro league, we want to have a college league and then youth tournaments. And so I'm getting a lot of emails or messages from high school guys and college wrestlers. And, for the older guys, it's like, well, you'll register and, hopefully you get drafted. But otherwise, we'll have some open tournaments and stuff like that Claw Invitational that we did in June. Anybody could enter that. I guess it was an invitational, so we tried to make sure guys were at a certain level. But we're going to have open tournaments. But I think that's probably more down the road because we really focus now on getting ready for season one, getting ready for the first draft ever. Hopefully, some really exciting news about the draft coming soon, where we're going to do it and when. So that's coming up hopefully very soon. And so that's it. There's a lot going on. We have to do, you've heard me say this before, Zach, we've got to do it right. We've tried things in wrestling before, and sometimes it's been great quality and sometimes, a little questionable. We want to be a professional league on par with other professional leagues and do things right and have it be quality and, put fans first. And if we do that, we think, we got a good shot at this.
Yeah, no. And Tom, I want to go back real quick because you did mention these sponsorships that'll be available. They're going to be made public. Is that right? Here in the near future?
Yes, we'll post them on our website sometime soon. And we have the document internally now if somebody really wants to get in right away. Because there's all kinds, there's all the typical, we studied, I told you this a long time ago, but did a ton of research on other sports and other leagues. And certainly one of them in terms of sponsorships, which is kind of the king, is NASCAR. And so just getting all kinds of ideas on different types of sponsorships. We tried to incorporate that in as much as we can. So that will be on our website. And then, our social media platforms are claw_wrestling and Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube, and we'll be on TikTok eventually here. Just haven't done that yet. But Claw_Wrestling for social media, and appreciate people following us, reposting, sharing, to help grow the social media.
You just went over 1,000 Instagram followers, right?
We did finally. And
congratulations. No, that's awesome. I tell you this, we're going to be a sponsor. I'm not sure what level, but whenever you roll that out, Tom, I definitely want to have you back on to talk about these sponsorship levels and how just the general people can help this sport. You also mentioned the draft. We didn't even really talk about the draft. That might be one of the coolest things about this whole thing. We're literally having a wrestler draft. That's never happened before. And you said there might be some big ideas for that coming up. Any announcements for the draft in the near future?
Yeah, it's probably in July. It's probably going to be at a large youth tournament so that there's lots of kids and families there. We originally maybe going to do a studio or maybe a theater. We looked at the State Theater in State College, which would be a really cool venue, kind of a miniature Radio City Music Hall like the NFL used to do.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
We want there to be, look, when people watch the draft, we want it to look legit. And it's not, it's kind of a mini like NFL, MLB, NHL, whatever draft. And so the production needs to be good and we need fans there. So, if we're at a big youth tournament and there's already hundreds or thousands of kids and families, we'll get them to pick the teams that they want to support, give them free merch, so that when the camera comes on and it's Cicadas draft pick, all the Cicada kids are there, going wild, for their draft pick.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully we'll have wrestlers there, to come out on stage, once they're picked. And so it's going to be cool. That's exciting. And so many wrestlers are, former All-Americans, NCAA qualifiers, are now reaching out to us. We still have we still have work to do to get the word out even more. But it's interesting how, at the beginning we had to contact everybody and now wrestlers are contacting us. How can I get involved? How do I get to be in? I want to be in this. I'm like, well, yeah, hopefully you get drafted. But, I think these teams might end up being stacked. Like there's 7 weight classes, 6 teams. So that's 42 starters. And it's possible the common wrestling fan will know the vast majority of them, if not all of them, which is awesome, because there'll be some name recognition there.
Yeah. Now, Tom, it sounds like, okay, I'm in the stock market. Sounds like this is a stock, folks, that's going to be going nothing but up. You want to buy it now, and you're going to have the opportunity to buy it now or become a sponsor here in the near future. And Tom, I can guarantee you I'll be at that draft. I can guarantee you, right? You're going to have them come up. Are you going to be the Roger Goodell commissioner and they're going to come shake your hand?
I don't ever want to be compared to Roger Goodell. As a lifelong Saints fan, I've still been 15 years ago, whatever that was. But yeah, I don't know exactly how we'll do it. Maybe we'll have celebrity wrestlers, make the draft picks. I'm not sure exactly how we'll do it, but it's all fun. There's Walt Disney said this once. I might be paraphrasing, but there's nothing more exciting than starting with a blank sheet of paper and be able to create something from scratch and to brainstorm and to have fun brainstorming. It's fun to when you're truly in the brainstorming mode and you're not worried about people judging every idea. It's fun. Like I had said before, one of the team names I proposed was the Ringworms. And I don't think we'll do that, but, fun. Uniforms would be great, That
must have been like idea number 44 or 45 on that list, right?
Yes.
Well, no, Tom, you got me thinking. Listen, I want to have you back after the sponsorships are announced and maybe after some draft announcements. But I want to give you any final thoughts here that we have a lot to look forward to, folks, with Claw Wrestling. Yeah,
we really appreciate BEG. You guys do an incredible job. It's so entertaining and interesting to watch, and certainly thank you for supporting Claw like you have, and definitely want you to be part of it in any way that you're interested in.
Well, appreciate it, Tom. Folks, go to WrestleClaw.com now. You can go to UFC FiGHT PASS at the end of the Campbell duel on the diamond. You can watch the Jordan Oliver, Bryce Andonian match. I would encourage you to do that. And folks, like I said, this is a stock you're going to want to buy now, buy low. So, Tom, thanks again. You're welcome anytime. And we will talk to you soon. So, folks,
thank
Tom
you,
Houck,
Zach.
Claw Wrestling, professional paid wrestling. Like and subscribe. Until next time, Tom Houck, folks.